So if you're new to Pear Deck, then we got your two different, somebody said it's the story of your life. What a way to start my training. I wasn't even connected to my audio. So my name is Rachel Barkus. I'm the newest member of the Office of Instructional Technology team. My background is in the library. And I'm excited for us to learn a little bit more about Pear Deck today. So if you're new to Pear Deck, then you're going to learn some of the basics today. If you are an experienced Pear Deck user, you're going to get to know the dashboard a little bit more closely today. So the link was in our chat. Also, it displays up here at the top of the board or at the top of my screen. So at any point in time, if you get kicked off of that, you can go to joinpd.com and type in that unique code, and it'll put you right back in the middle of our presentation. So I want you to experience what Pear Deck looks like from the student interface for just a little bit. I think with a lot of technology tools, we're used to seeing the teacher end of things, and sometimes it's really helpful to see what the students see, and sometimes that can help kind of get your brain going in terms of what questions you can ask and how you can use this specific tool. So I'm going to let you answer a few questions from the student end, and I want to tell you a few things about the different displays I have going on. Right now, where you logged in to Pear Deck, that is your student view. We also have what's called the teacher view, or what I'm screen sharing with you right now. If I was thinking about this in a traditional classroom setting, this would be what I projected on my board. So this is what I project. This is what's on a student device. And then this third piece over here is a new thing that we have available through our premium membership, which is the teacher dash. And I'm going to talk about that in just a few minutes. So let's start with a question to get going today. How much do you know about Pear Deck? This type of question is a multiple choice question. And with Pear Deck, there's no right or wrong answers. So this kind of gauges your students where they are in their learning. And I'm going to show you too, as you're answering, as we get a few more responses, I can see as a teacher down here on the bottom, I have 23 people out of 36 in my presentation who have responded. That lets me know I need to wait just a little bit longer. Yeah, there's not a choice for nothing, less than nothing, but absolutely, I've been there before with some tech tools. So now I can show the answers on our screen today, kind of show where we're going with our Pear Deck lesson. It looks like 7 of you don't know anything about it, know what it is and haven't used it, tried it out, or use it and love it. So we got 3 people in here that are experienced Pear Deck users. They're back for more because they love using Pear Deck with their students. All right, this next type of question is a drawing question. So especially, I know all you primary people are like, what? Yes, drawing questions. So use the student tools right now and interact with this. And if you're intimidated by the fact that this is the cell, don't worry, I was too, don't know any of those parts, really impressed by the people who do. But just use the tools that you see on your screen, see how you can do the text or the different drawing tools, and just play around with that so you get a feel for how students can engage with that drawing feature. Carly's on here. She's a biology teacher. She's like, yes, she knows that mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, right?
Can I interrupt a minute? I just got on, and do I need to log on to Pear Deck somewhere or whatever so I can interact with you all? Or
absolutely. Thank you for bringing that up. Sometimes I just get going. Thanks for reminding me. If you look in our chat, there's a link to log in. I'll repaste that again. And also at any point in time in the presentation, you can open up a window, maybe dock your Zoom screen to the side or pull it off to one side and open up a new browser, type in joinpd.com, and our unique key is up here at the top. So interacting with the drawing slides. Oh, I love that someone is actually knowing the answer right here. So I can showcase, look, somebody knows what they're talking about with our Pear Deck. So the students can use this tool to draw on the slides or add text to the slides. All right, now this is one everybody should be able to answer. This is a draggable question. I really like this, once again, for primary, for your students, that just dragging something across the screen is going to be a really way to show learning. But I also love this. There's a lot of cool ways that you can use this in secondary classrooms as well. So I want to show this. our answers. We've got 27 people answering. Thank you so much for those of you that are participating, where you're showing me where you're from using that draggable feature on our Pear Deck slide. I can tell right now 35 people have responded. Isn't this cool? As a teacher, you know how many people are answering that question. You know when it's time to show that and move on. So here's our answer right here, and look at how this is going to be displayed. It shows us where we're from. So look, we still have answers popping up on the screen. I see some people are moving still where they're from. And I'll show you how to do this later on, but I have the option to lock your screen. So if you didn't get to where you needed to be, then you're locked right now, and now you're back to focusing on me. So we all know that sometimes those features get a little bit fun, or maybe you show something and kids are like, wait, I want to switch my answer. There is a way that you can lock students' screens so that they interact with you instead of the slide. So I've asked a few different questions so far, and I want to explore the timer function. So if I want my kids to be able to answer, but I want them to do it in a certain amount of time, I can give them a time allowance. So you have 30 seconds to type in and tell me, what type of Pear Deck interactive slides have I used so far? And I know, Anne, thank you so much. Sometimes Pear Deck is graphic heavy, and so sometimes you have to refresh your screen for it to catch up. So when students refresh, it'll automatically put them on the screen that I'm in. This is a lot like Nearpod in that I'm directing the learning right now, so students can only go where I put them. So our timer is up, and I should see your responses, and I'm going to showcase a few of those right now on my board. So I have asked a multiple choice question, a drawing question, and a draggable question. Awesome. All right, for you math people out there, how many jelly beans can fit in a mason jar? This is a number question. This automatically gives you numbers to enter. And for any of you math people out there, you're going to love how it projects the answer. We wait until a few more responses come in there. So I'm going to go ahead and lock you in at your answers and show you that this actually has a box and whiskers plot. And this is hard to see because of the range of our answers. But if they were a little bit more tightly grouped, then you would get to see that really, really cool display of data. So we can always dig deeper when students answer a math question like that, or an estimation question, and ask them to respond with some kind of metacognition activity. So how did you decide on that number? And I love the answers that are coming in. So what I'm going to do right now is highlight just a couple of those answers, because what I want to see is students participating and understanding there isn't one right answer. We want a little bit of that discourse in our class so that we can kind of work through our thinking. So I'm going to project two answers right now, counted rows and multiplied, and also I guessed. That's what I see commonly up here. A lot of us guessed, or some of us had a strategy, and then, oh, I love this too. One more student said just guessed, because I know how big of a jelly bean is. So all of those are great strategies, and this gives me a few talking points that I can see straight from my students. Now you might have noticed that answers are coming up anonymously, which is super cool, because some of you might be like, oh, she put my answer up, whereas other people might feel uncomfortable with their answer being displayed attached to their name. So this does allow you to project answers anonymously, although on the teacher dash, I can see who put what answer. So I know which kids I need to go back and target for instruction. I also love this feature of Pear Deck because sometimes I feel really boxed in by the old Pear Deck when we didn't have the premium version. I felt like what I had was what I had, and I had to keep moving straight through it. But this also allows us to put in a new question right in the middle of our instruction. So all I have to do from my teacher dashboard is click right here to new prompt, and I can add in something that I want you to do. I can choose a prompt from templates, or I'm going to put in a text prompt. And I want you to tell me using the text prompt on your screen. I want you to tell me, am I moving too fast, too slow, or just right? If you'll tell me right now. Okay, thank you so much for those answers. See, for me, that's very helpful. Have y'all noticed that I talk really fast? So I will slow down my speed just a little bit, but the purpose of this activity was just to get you a feel for some of the options that you have with Pear Deck. I feel like once you see the powerhouse it is, then it kind of gets your brain working and you can decide how you're going to use this for your own content area. The last type of question I want to show you is the website explorer. This is available through the premium version of Pear Deck, which the district has purchased for the year. So without even leaving this slide, you get to explore a website that should have opened up to the side. So right now you're in the Pear Deck Orchard. It shows you different templates, but just going from my background, I'm used to library content. So I would think about this teaching a research unit and having the research database pop up right there in the presentation for students to be able to pull out a fact and add it to some sort of graphic organizer that we're working on. Yes, and Sunny has an awesome question in the chat. She's asking how she's going to be able to use those features. We're going to have a workshop at the end of our session, and I'm going to show you exactly how you can start with what you already have, which is probably a Google slide deck. All right, so this is how we insert a website straight into our Pear Deck presentation. All right, I also love to see how they use the draggable in a different way. So all they did was change the size and the shape of the draggable feature. So let's do a little stress check. I feel my cheeks getting redder and redder as we go on. Tell me how you're feeling, whether you're in a good space, whether you're having a hard time focusing because these crazy OIT people like to do trainings at 4:15 and we're zoomed out, or you know what, I just can't even handle it right now. And I'm going to show you our responses. I don't think anybody is going to be shocked by this. Show you our responses right now, and you can see people moving those in real time. Now, this is an example of a templated slide that came from Pear Deck, from that orchard that you were just on with the websites. And what I love about these templated slides is I could change them. This one says I'm in a good space, but maybe I could do something like, I understand the content, or I'm struggling a little bit, or I'm completely lost. So just having a starting place will help you to kind of use that with your content. All right, so we've explored all the different types of questions: the text question, the multiple choice, the number question, the website, the draw question, and the draggable. Show me which one you are most excited to use. So I can tell that 17 people have responded. Sarah, the Orchard is on Pear Deck's website, and it just gives you templates that you can add to your Google slide deck, or that you can even start with. We'll talk about how this works with Google Slides in a minute. I just want you to kind of see what the website or what a Pear Deck looks like from the student interface. Oh, goodness. All right, I'm going to show you your responses. Now, if I've got someone who has done something completely inappropriate, which I don't in this case, what I can do is hide their answer. So if I want to be able to hide an answer, I can take it off of what's shown. So let me find one to hide. I'm just going to use the one with the heart because it's the first one here. And I'm going to show you how to do this later. See how it popped off there? I know that no one would have any kind of student write anything inappropriate, but this is super cool with Pear Deck. To be able, with the teacher dash and the premium features, to be able to hide answers. All right, so now we're going to get into the teacher tools, and I'm going to take just a second to show you what I see too. So you're going to get to see my full desktop now, and you should see one window open that says Teacher Tools, and this is my projector view. And you also see over here to the side, this is my Teacher Dash. I hope that's what you see. So, give me a thumbs up in your screen if that's what you see. If not, I know that I need to fix my screen share. Thank you, Ms. Spangler. All right. So now we're going to kind of work on our teacher tools. And I've changed my view because I want you to understand that there is more than one view that I'm controlling this from. So let's start with the basics when you're getting ready to share a Pear Deck with your students. You have a few different ways that you can get students to join a Pear Deck. One way is to go on joinpd.com, which some of you did. And when they get to joinpd.com, each Pear Deck presentation is given a unique code, and they can type that in, and that will bring them into the session. Another way that you can have students join is through a Google Classroom invitation. So down at the bottom of the screen, when you have a presentation opened, it shows that invite class, and you can send that straight to your Google Classroom page for students to be able to jump on. I also can copy the link that's right beside it and put it in the chat, which is appropriate for Zoom. If you were in a classroom situation, obviously writing out a website would not work very well for the kids. But in Zoom, I can put it in the chat and they can jump on really easily. They also have an option for anonymous join, and that means that the kids are going to come in without their Google credentials. Now, I would not recommend doing that because we've learned a lot in this virtual setting, and if kids are not connected to their credentials, then there might be some things that happen that you can't monitor. But if you were doing a parents' night and you didn't want to have to use the Google credentials, then you could use that anonymous join feature. And Miss McKay reminded me that yes, Chromebooks are stinky and that they can't, kids can't click the links in the chat. So you might use the Google Classroom option, or the last one, if you are a middle or high school teacher. It also works with Canvas. So you can use your Canvas integration to send kids the link through your Canvas course. All right, so let's talk about the different views that we have going on. It seems like a lot to juggle, but right now you are experiencing our Pear Deck through the student view. So what you opened from the beginning was that student view. That's how they're able to interact with the slides. What I have projected on my screen that you've been watching through Zoom is the teacher view. And I like to call that the projector view, because if I were in my library or in my classroom, that's what would be coming through my computer onto my smartboard or onto my IFP or onto my screen. The last piece is the premium piece that we've added by purchasing the premium version of Pear Deck, and that's the Teacher Dash. I have it open right here as a separate window so that I can control it. But if I'm juggling a lot of things and I can't see all the things on a Zoom call, I could also open my Teacher Dash from my phone or a secondary device. If I were in the classroom, back in the classroom with students, I would definitely do that on a secondary device so that I could walk around with my phone and progress the slides and provide feedback, highlight, and showcase answers without having to stand in front of the room all the time. So we definitely want to use this interactive feature of Pear Deck to display answers and encourage that participation from our students. We want them to see what other people are thinking, not necessarily so they change their thinking, but to promote that discussion and debate. So I'm going to show you how some of that is done. And I'm going to show you on this Teacher Dash how we view a few different things. So when students answer a question and I want it to project for everybody, I click the Show Responses button, and that shows up at the bottom of my screen down here when I have an interactive question. When I project student answers, I can choose to project them a few different ways. I can project them as a list, as a grid, or as an overlay. And I'm going to show you what those different options look like. So when I select list, it shows me just one or two answers that I can showcase. When I showcase it as a grid, it shows individual answers all up on the screen together. And the last way to showcase is with overlay, which is really helpful for your draggable questions or your multiple choice because it shows what everybody is doing together on one slide. So I'm going to put in a few questions and kind of show you how I would display those using my teacher dash off here to the side. I also have shown you in our presentation that sometimes you need to lock the screen so that students get back on the same page with you. And you might also want to give them a time limit. And that can be done inside the interactive slide by clicking the lock screen button or by hovering over the lock screen and choosing the amount of time you want to give students. So, what level do you teach? Now you can see over here off to the side, it's already populating. And since it's a draggable question, it automatically goes into this this overlay view. I can switch that if I want to see which students answered which way, or I can have them list it, make it sit a little bit bigger on my screen. When I decide that I want to project our final answers, and it shows me too who has not responded at the bottom, I'm going to click this project button and now you see it on your screen. When I'm ready to go on, I'm just going to progress to the next slide. All right, here's our next question. Think of a question your classmates might have. And this question I pulled from the Pear Deck Orchard. It's just a templated one that I stuck in the slide deck that I had already created. You see when people are typing in their answers, it's showing me in real time. What's for homework? How do you set up your first Pear Deck? I know you guys are like, lady, just show me how to do it, right? So when I'm ready to show this one, this would be one that would be good for a grid layout. And it shows us all of our friends' answers right here on the screen. Ooh, when's lunch? You can have a pair or co-teacher see your slide deck and your Pear Deck. They just won't be able to present it. Pear Deck is working on a co-teacher function, by the way, which is super cool. Yes, someone asked, is there music templates? Yes, that's in the Pear Deck Orchard. Someone said, can you go back? I sure can. I can go back to the previous slide and I can go forward and look, all of my data stays there. All right, so this is how I used the grid layout to showcase student answers. And as I said before, I might want to only choose a few of those answers. Like, where do I start? I'm going to click the star there so that they can only see that one. Does the student know when their answer is submitted? And then I'm going to showcase those responses. Let's say someone put something inappropriate. When's lunch? I'm just going to pick on that one real quick. I'm going to click these three dots right here and I'm going to hide their response. That way, if I show everybody's response, it doesn't show that one. It disappears from my screen. So if you're worried about the inappropriate things that are going to pop up from students, you can just hide their responses like that. Okay. The cool thing is it's showing me who is participating and who is not participating too. So in the classroom situation, I know who's not engaging with my slides at all. All right, it's also important to be able to add teacher feedback. So if you got one kid that's fallen asleep on our lesson or is just not really on the right track, you can do that using our premium features and your teacher dashboard off to the side. So this next question says, here's how you do it. You're going to click on the little speech bubble by someone's name on the teacher dash, and then you can type in your feedback to them. So I'm going to show you how this works and what it looks like on your end. It says summarize what you've just learned. Just feel free to type something in the chat or in the box for me. And off to the side, you can see that those answers are being populated. And I'm going to come in and tell Rebecca, is that Becky Smith? Thanks for your feedback. And that's going to go straight to her computer where she can see it. And I can continue to add feedback. Somebody said, cool, I didn't know that you could do that. So when I get ready to showcase my answers, the feedback doesn't show up, but this is where I would use this list layout. When I want to showcase those, I want the kids to be able to see those. Those are going to be a little bit more text heavy questions. So I only want them to be able to see a few at a time and not little bitty tiny squares. Oh, somebody said the answer question was off of their screen. Yeah, you got to be able to see the whole screen in there. All right, so let's talk about how we're rolling sometimes asynchronously and sometimes synchronously. So the way that we're doing this Pear Deck right now is synchronously. You're participating with me. I'm walking you through the slides. That's not always the case, and some teachers don't even have that options with their students. They're working asynchronously. So this can also be a tool that you use asynchronously. Pear Deck has a student pace mode. So when you start your presentation, you have an option to make it student paced. They work through the slides at their own pace and engage with the questions that you give them. Using the teacher dash, you're still able to see their answers and to give feedback along the way, but they just don't have to do it in real time with you. So you can use any of your existing lessons or Google slide decks and just add that little touch of interactivity by making it a Pear Deck and adding those interactive slides. You also can turn on student pace mode at any point in time. So right now I'm going to click the three dots at the bottom of my screen and I'm going to turn on student pace mode for just a second. I want you to go through the slides right now on your own and see how you can navigate through the slides without being on the same page as me. So I can see this being a really cool thing when you get to a stopping point. All right, we're about to summarize what we've learned. I'm going to give you a minute to click through the slides that we've already gone through, review anything, and get ready to tell me what you know. When I'm ready to bring you back, I'm just going to click Stop Student Pace Mode, and then you join me back on the slide that we're on. So adding audio is a really cool feature that you can do in Pear Deck Premium, and this is awesome for when your kids are working on their Pear Decks asynchronously. So here's an example of an audio slide. Now, if you're like, man, she makes some killer content, once again, I pulled this slide off of the Orchard. It was one that was already created, and I put it straight in my slide deck. So you can see that audio included button, and feel free on your end to click the button and play the directions. All right, so you can see on my teacher dash, I've got people that have played that and they're following the directions. I'm going to showcase an answer right here where someone has circled the items that start with B. So it's a really cool way to add that interactivity, adding directions or some further explanation for your students when they're working on their own. I also think that working asynchronously, it brings them back into what they're doing so they're not just scanning through those slides really quickly. So here's how I did that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how you work from Google Slides on your Pear Deck. But when I opened my Pear Deck add-on off to the side, there was a button right away that said, add audio to slide. And then there it is up at the top. So I'm going to go back really quickly for those of you who didn't see that audio piece, and I'm going to stop projecting the answers. There should be a place where you can click the audio button and you'll hear me say that. Not up here at the top where it says audio included, it should have a button. Bottom right-hand corner. Okay, awesome. I just want you guys to see that feature. And it might be something that you have to show your kids how to work at, absolutely. Okay, another feature that's really cool with our Teacher Dash and our Premium Pear Deck is to be able to publish student takeaways. This is a little bit more complicated part of it, but basically when students finish and you end your session, it gives them a summary of everything they've done. So it shows them the question and shows them what they answered. And this actually comes to them as a Google Doc in their Google Drive. So you also have access to it and you can comment on it. Someone asked earlier if you can embed a video in it. You can, but this is one way that you can embed a video and have students watch it on their own. So I know that there's a 2-minute video on there. I'm going to let you hit play. Pear Deck has a lot of cool videos if you're struggling with one particular content piece that you don't know how to do. So I'm going to let you play that video on your own. And if you happen to watch the video and you're finished with it, give me a thumbs up or let me know in the chat. Okay. Thanks, Lynn. Lynn looks super excited. Okay. So they can explain it better than I can. And those little quick videos, there's tons of them on Pear Deck's site. So if there's one thing that you're like, oh, I remember the lady from the Office of Instructional Technology mentioned, but I can't remember how, those little videos are a great starting point. They move quickly and they show you just what you're looking for. So student takeaways are awesome because you can also extend the lesson with them. So they propose for Pear Deck that you have students do this as an assignment. So open up your student takeaways from our Pear Deck lesson today. And there's options for them to kind of summarize it or to write comments to show their thought process as they kind of unpack their learning for the day. So here's what we've covered so far, and I know you're ready for me to let you work in Pear Deck or to see how to actually use it. So we've talked about how they're the different question types. We've talked about how you can get your students to join. We've talked about the 3 different dashboard functionality views. So your student view, your projector view, and then your teacher dash. We talked about the different presenter tools, how to hide comments, how to star comments, how to leave feedback, and how to display different answers. And we talked about how you can turn on that student paced mode so that students can move independently through it, maybe in an asynchronous model, or even while you're in the middle of learning. So a real quick caveat here is that right now the district has paid for us to have the premium version. This will only happen this year. Next year, it'll be a school by school decision on whether they want to continue paying for Pear Deck. So here's what you lose if you don't have the premium version. You cannot create draggable and draw questions. You don't see the teacher dashboard, and you don't get the student takeaways. Those are things that we've gotten with the premium version. However, if you're like me and you're like, I'm not going to use a tool if I'm going to create a bunch of stuff and then lose it next year, the cool good news is that your premium slides will still work in any presentation you've created, even if your account reverts to the free version. So if you go through right now and take all of your slide decks that you created for a unit and you add these Pear Deck interactivities, including some of the premium slide versions, then it's going to stay when you present it, even if your account reverts to the free version. So for example, I now help Paula Setzer-Kissick with digital citizenship. So I went through and added all kinds of interactive Pear Deck questions to our digital citizenship content because I know I'm going to keep using this year after year after year. So we're going to get into a little bit of workshop time where you're going to be able to work and create your Pear Decks and hopefully turn around and use it maybe even tomorrow with your students. Yes, Sarah, exactly. All right. So when you get ready to do this with your students, you can choose to do what I've done here and split your screens and kind of have your dash off to the side where the kids can't see it, and don't share that part and just share your projector view, or you can open your dash on a separate device. Now here's how we work with Pear Deck. We start in a Google slide deck. This can even be a slide deck you've already created. So we're going to use that G Suite tool. We're going to open up our slide deck, even one that we have for tomorrow's lesson. And then we're going to open Pear Deck through the add-ons bar on our add-on menu on the bar. So we click the add-ons button. And if you don't have Pear Deck as your option already, you're going to go get add-ons, and it'll take you to a website where you can type in Pear Deck, and then it's going to bring Pear Deck in, and that becomes part of your add-on. You got a question? Okay, maybe if you have a question, feel free to interrupt and let me know. Okay, you're breaking up a little bit. It might be better if you want to type it in the chat. Okay, so we can create those slides. We can, we can use that toolbar to bring in already pre-created slides, or we can use the slides we already have and add different question types right on the top of there. So the rest of the slide deck that I have here has got some options for you to navigate to different websites. For Pear Deck templates, someone said, is there music? Yes, there's music. There's all kinds of art content, which is super cool. And someone else asked about SEL. They have a whole SEL piece that teachers can put in their daily lessons, or you can use as a springboard for your SEL content. I also have a place where I need you to click on the link and leave me a little bit of feedback. This actually is my second live learning session, so any feedback is helpful. And if I'm going too quickly through the slides, I'll tell you what I'm about to do. The last few slides are going to show you some Pear Deck resources. So at this point in time, because you're going to want to use the slide deck that I created to guide your own learning right now, I'm going to turn this on to student pace mode. So if you needed to go back a slide and see my feedback link again, you can. If you needed to go back even further to find some templates, you can. All of that is going to be available for you, and you can progress through it. I really think that the examples at the end are cool because I get kind of limited in my thinking about how I would use the draggable or how I would use the text. And they've got some really cool examples. So feel free to navigate through those on your own. And I'm here until 5 to help anybody who is creating theirs. Now, for those of you who are like, she went way too quickly through how to do this, you're going to start with a slide deck that you've already created, or maybe a brand new slide deck. So I'm going to make a new Google slide. And up here in my add-ons menu, I'm going to go to Get Add-on, and I'm going to add Pear Deck. And for those of you who are working on something and you're like, I still don't know how to do this, just type it in the chat. So Pear Deck's already installed for me, but this is where you would click it. And then it shows up here on your menu. So when it's here, I see my options off to the side. At any point in time, I can visit the template library, say, okay, this is the beginning of my lesson, so I want them to start with this slide. By clicking on it, it automatically inserts it into my presentation. Okay, so then after we talk about what we learned from the homework, I'm going to say, what did you eat for breakfast? Now I would make this cute and have some images in here and some things like that. But if I want to add my own custom question, Then on this menu off to the side, I'm going to choose what type of question I want to add. And all of a sudden, that question becomes interactive. Now that gives students an opportunity to write their response on there.